Welcome to the Ravenswood City School District regular meeting of February 27th, 2025. The board meeting is now called to order at 6:02 PM. We'll begin with item number one, roll call. Trustee Blue,
Here.
trustee Latu, trustee Shibomahim, trustee Nunez, and I myself, Samuel Tavera, am present. We have quorum. We're gonna move to item number two, approval of the agenda. Do we have any questions or comments regarding the agenda? So we will be tabling, yes. So we will be tabling item 7A and tabling item 7H for the record. So do I have a motion to approve the revised agenda tabling item 7A and 7H?
I will make a motion to approve the revised agenda, tabling 7A and 7H.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Sounds good. We'll now move on to item number three, which is closed session. Do we have any members of the public who would like to address any items that are agendized for closed session? Awesome, thank you. As we see none, I will adjourn to closed session at 6:03 PM. Welcome back. We're gonna start with item number 4. Welcome back. We're gonna reconvene to open session. We're gonna start at 6:36 PM. And we're gonna jump to item number 5. Report of action taken in closed session. Just gonna state that there was a discussion for item number 5. And now we're gonna jump into item number 6 from the floor. If we have any members of the public who would like to address anything that is not agendized, this is the time to do so. Oh, sounds good. As we see none, then I will move on from item number 6. We're gonna move on to item number 7, which is the consent agenda. And I just want to remind everyone that we've tabled agenda items 7A and 7H. Those were tabled, so I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Vote passes 3-0. And now we'll move into item number 8, which is board reports and communications.
Through the chair. I know that there are many Black History Month celebrations that are happening and have happened in the month of February. Today, I think there's one at CCRMS. There were also plays that happened at Los Robles this week. I know there was an art night at Castaño that was really great. So I hope that we were able to all enjoy those. And I think there's also an event tomorrow night at Epicenter to honor the living legends we know what time it's at 4:30. So just an announcement there. And then I also know there's lots of different community meetings that are happening at the YMCA for the Know Your Rights. So please check social media to find out how many different events and things that are coming up for the public to connect on.
So Christopher, unfortunately, this agenda item's already passed, so we can no longer take public comment this time. Yeah, sorry about that. That was at the beginning of the. Yeah, but we do want to encourage at this time that you can email any comments to us, to the superintendent, and they can be forwarded to us. Yeah. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. We will now move into item number 9, which is a consideration to accept the 23-24 audit report for the Ravenswood School District.
Evening, trustees. Each year we conduct, in partnership with Chauvin and Associates, the last few years, an annual audit, which looks over everything that we do over the course of the school year, all of our expenditures, all of our revenue, all of our contracts, all of our teacher contracts, all of our employee contracts, pretty much every single aspect of what we do. It takes a substantial amount of team time over the course of the year, and is a very thorough review of all of our activity. The audit is complete. We're pleased to report. As there has been for the last few years, there were a couple of things that we missed the ball on. They call those findings. We had a couple of findings this year. We have the last couple of years after, I think, 2 clean years. The findings were as follows, just to sort of walk you through what they are in kind of plain English. The first finding was a repeat finding. We are supposed to book expenditures in the year that they occur. So if we base something $500 in May of 2023. We should book that in fiscal year 22-23. With some of these big construction projects where summer activity is very active, work that happens in May, June, often doesn't get paid until July or August. We're supposed to be encumbering those activities. We often do, but we've missed a couple. So bills that we've paid in the next fiscal year were charged to the wrong fiscal year. This doesn't affect the operating budget, which is, I think, where fiscal years are truly most important. It has been sort of a pain point of ours in the last couple of years. And because these individual bills with some of the contractors are several $100,000, it becomes a material finding when we don't code one in the correct year. Second finding had to do with our food service program and federal funding. The revenue we get for the food service reimbursement comes from the state of California, but is a mix of two different funding sources, federal and state. So we get like $1,000 check, a little more than that, but call it $1,000 check to make the math easy. 700 of that's from the state, 300 is from the feds. We have not gone on the back end and disaggregated that amount. We logged that amount in one place, even though it was a combined two different funding sources. The third, I don't think will be an issue again, but has been a real pain point for the last couple of years. We have struggled to gain consistent control of our bank accounts. There's no fraud or other activities that we've seen come from that, but we've had a tough time with prior business office officials for me leaving and not transitioning over control of a couple of bank accounts. We've now regained control of the bank accounts, closed them, and merged them with our main account. And we saw no weird activity in those accounts. But because we couldn't log into those accounts for a brief period of time, we weren't able to provide sufficient documents of what was going on in those accounts. That has all been resolved. There would be a problem. We had two more. One is there's a weird law that I've only heard of in California, but may exist elsewhere, which requires a certain percentage of spending on teacher compensation, core teacher compensation. And we have been below that amount for the last couple of years. That is because we're providing additional supports outside of the classroom, not because we're unusually high in our core classroom ratios, but things like social workers, things like art teachers, things like vice principals, things like yard duties. None of that counts towards that 60% minimum threshold. That was waived during COVID, but has been sort of put back into effect. There's no penalty from this, but it is a finding that we then appeal to the county, which waives the finding. But we expect, given the amount of supports we provide outside of classrooms, we expect this to continue to be a finding. Finally, this was one that sort of carried over from the prior year. Due to a formula error, we did not accurately account for the instructional minutes in two of the elementary schools, Belhaven and Los Robles. We were about 1 to 2 minutes, 1 to 2% below the threshold. We have since fixed that and added in catch-up minutes effective this year. So this year, both of those schools are offering more minutes than are required to compensate for not having the right amount of minutes last year. We did waive this. We did get a waiver for this from the state of California. That's already been approved. So no issues on this finding either, but it is reported as an issue from last year, 23-24. With that, I'll conclude my presentation.
Thank you for that. Is there any question?
Sorry. Yeah. Right now, we probably have somewhere in the order of $30 million in bank accounts. Excuse me, more than that. That's 30 million in the general fund of bank accounts, and probably another 50 million or so in construction. So $80 million in cash. Of that 80 million, 79 million is sitting in a county bank account that is tucked away and follows sort of the usual processes. The district set up, before I got here, a series of bank accounts. One was at Wells Fargo, one was at Union Bank. The other was a credit card through Citibank. The Union Bank account we gained access to when I started, but it took a while. We did not have the prior superintendent. The prior superintendent and the prior CBO was on the account. Neither of them were able to sign the accounts over to the current superintendent for me. So there's a lot of paperwork where the bank reasonably said, we don't have any record of you. How can we give you access to this account? So we had to demonstrate all the sort of board paperwork that we were legit, we were who we said we are. It took a while. Union Bank was then bought by US Bank. And that process basically deleted all of the access that we had set up. So during that period, we lost access again to the accounts. We have since closed that account and transferred all of the funds to Wells Fargo, which is our sole banking partner today. So all of the bank accounts, and again, there's about $1 million in there. So it's not a small amount of money, but it's also not $79 million, right? And that's in that Wells Fargo account. The people who have access to that are the board approved signers, superintendent, myself, and our director of finance. We're the only people who can make changes to that account. Did I answer that question or not quite?
It should be part of our transition plan. Before we actually depart or separate with the district, our responsibility is to sign over to signers.
I think we should also, the current administration, I should say, is also taking great care in opening bank accounts. We are not trying to open multiple bank accounts in an organization our size. One bank account, I think, is plenty for us. So those are sort of the two ways. It's yes, it's very much part of our transition plan because of how painful this has been for us. And then two, we don't plan on opening up other accounts. That's right. If the superintendent left and was irate at all of us and didn't want to return any of my phone calls, I could still remove her from the account and she could remove me. So any of us are what's called authorized executives on the account.
Yeah, just one comment or question. I was looking over the report, and then on the findings, they gave like recommendations on suggestions or recommendations. Each recommendation or like corrective action, there's some sort of corrective action plan for each recommendation. And then like of all the recommendations, how many of them have either been completed or in process, or it's like a timeline for any of the corrections, all the corrections. But I know, like, I think I was just remembering, like, one of them said, like, one of them cross-reference or cross-training for staff. One of them was like, okay, that was done. Other one was things like that. Like, just want to make sure that.
Of course, very reasonable question. I'm trying to sort of come up with a pithy answer. I think the first finding, I would say we agree with the recommendation. We have provided training for staff because of the amount of construction work that is happening over the summer. I am not confident that this will not be a repeat finding, but I just think it is really difficult to properly catch that. So I think that's just a downside of doing construction, is we're likely to get findings. The second one around the food services piece, our food services team and our business analysts have been working really closely together, confident that this won't be an issue going forward. The bank reconciliation, I think we've discussed at length, should be resolved. The teacher salary issue, I think, is going to be an ongoing issue. There's no training recommended. There's no process improvement other than the appeal, which we can't submit until the audit's been submitted. So we'll take care of that. And then the instructional minutes one has already been closed out. So I'm not quite sure what that tallied to, but we're, I think, 3 for 5 of sort of closed out, with the other two being one's coming and one's sort of difficult to fix.
And then, just from my understanding as well, because obviously, audits are, it's new to me and not understanding that, but based off the findings that were shared and this is what we saw, this is what we're finding, there wasn't like this huge gap between like disagreement, like between us and what they told us as far as like corrective action plan or like, okay, we understand what the findings and take steps to correct or et cetera.
No, we have a wonderful working relationship with the auditors. I think we honestly, we appreciate a lot of what they're doing. We call them with questions. They're very supportive. It's not, this isn't punitive. There's no gotcha. There's no why I wanted to.
And
It's-
yeah, I think for, it wasn't meant like that relationship aspect. I
Oh,
just
yeah.
meant like there was like the understanding of like the taking the steps to correct to make sure that, yeah, like, and I think I already got that answer, but I just want to make sure that the steps to make the corrective actions.
They run procedurally, they actually run the recommendations by us
Okay.
and we sign off,
Okay.
we provide feedback,
Awesome.
sign off on it.
That-
So
okay.
it's truly a collaborative. I don't think I would disagree with any of the recommendations.
I think that's what I actually wanted to hear. So I like that. Thank you. Anything else? Right, well, then I will entertain a motion to approve the 23-24 audit report. Do I have a second?
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all, anyone vote? No? Vote, passes 3-0. And with that, I'll, move on to item number 10, superintendent's report.
Great, this is an opportunity to give you some highlights of what's been going on in Ravenswood, and of course, always starting with our learner profile, as I want to highlight different segments of the tenets of our learner profile of the work that we're doing across the district. So we'll start with joy and community, where we want students to be able to say, I find joy in who I am in the communities I'm a part of. And going to the next slide, this month, obviously, we are celebrating Black History Month. If you have an opportunity to explore some of the memos that we've been sending out, Bellhaven Elementary School has been creating videos with students highlighting historians and philosophers and musicians of Black individuals who contributed to our communities and our society. And so individual students as well as staff members, and this has been spearheaded by our student culture coordinator, Kevin, at Bellhaven. And then on the right-hand side, one of the things that we are very proud of in Ravenswood is really centering our work around students and ensuring that they are able to have a voice to advocate for themselves. And in this class specifically, this is an upper unique class at Castaño Elementary School. The teacher is Miss Isis, and she works with students along with the other paraeducators there that are nonverbal. And I just wanted to share a video of how inclusive and warm and welcoming this teacher has created the classroom to ensure that these students are treated wholeheartedly as whole students, and more importantly, giving students their voice.
Good morning, Leo. Good morning, Leo. Is Adeline here today? Adeline's here today. Adeline's here today. Good morning, Adeline. Is Chloe here today? Chloe's here today. Chloe's here today. Good morning. Is Salvador here today? Salvador is here today. Salvador is here today. Good morning, Salvador. Is Jake here today? Jake is here today.
Yeah, so it's an expectation at Castaño School that there is a morning meeting, and it gives an opportunity for students to share how they're feeling in the day and getting them ready to have the appropriate mindset to get focused and feel connected as well before they start school. And I think it's incredible that we have educators, specifically here at Castaño School, set up an environment where, again, I'll reiterate, students literally being given a voice. in the space. And I really appreciate also the other educators in the space really holding and caring for these students who are our most vulnerable students. Very proud. And then in regards to growth mindset and just ensuring that we approach our learning with the growth mindset, our educators are doing that also on a regular basis. And yesterday specifically during a professional development day, our elementary teachers on the left-hand side and our middle school teachers on the right-hand side both had facilitators lead training through core learning. And our elementary teachers focused specifically on vocabulary and making links between vocabulary and comprehension, as well as identifying strategies for selecting specific vocabulary words and being able to explicitly teach vocabulary instruction that's rich and robust. And so they received specific strategies and a framework to do that. And then our middle school student teachers have always been really trying to find ways to have their instruction be engaging, and not just for fun and entertainment, really working on ensuring that students, yes, find joy in what they're learning about, but in a rigorous fashion, and more importantly, the engagement piece is when they're working with the problem and they're in this form of productive struggle. And so the feedback that we got was that this was one of the most engaging pieces of professional development our middle school teachers were excited about. And the instructional leadership team will continue focusing on engagement around productive struggle at the middle school. And in regards to attendance, as you know, February 3rd was Day Without an Immigrant, and that significantly impacted the enrollment at Ravenswood, where we had over 600 absences. And the attendance on the left-hand side was a residual of that week of the impact of fear, the fear that our families have around the immigration enforcement. It's gotten better over time, and you can see the enrollment on the right is as of today. And I just wanted to emphasize here and reassure the board that we have been doing our due diligence of sending resources to our families, and more importantly, being available for our families on day-to-day needs around giving them information to feel empowered. Our staff also received internal communication on how to respond if immigration enforcement were to appear on our campuses. I feel like we are more than prepared. We're hoping it's highly unlikely that we would have visitors from ICE on our campuses, but we will be prepared if they do come. And in regards to our talent and recruiting and retaining our talent, our principals and vice principals have already sent out preliminary assignments, have distributed their teachers' assignments for 25-26 for next year. And they've also been holding stay conversations to encourage retaining our team members. And then Will has led the principals and vice principals through the budget collaboration, budget collab meetings. And so we have a preliminary budget for each of the school sites. So now at this point in time, they're able to focus on recruiting and hiring for site vacancies. And so they'll be working closely with Joan, Katina, and Austin. And then also some work that Katina's doing with HR is recognizing and supporting future educators in our community. So there is an opportunity for our current staff to identify students, third grade and older, who are eligible, who the team members might think would be outstanding future students. And if selected, then they can receive up to $1,000 scholarship. And then we would obviously honor them as well. So it's another opportunity to grow within not only adult talent, but future educators of our very own. And then our last tenet is discover and exploration, where we would love students to say that they discover and explore with an open mind. And over intercession, I believe BGCP would love to share this information too in front of the boards in the springtime. But they recently hosted intercession for us. And so our middle school students had an opportunity to visit Kenyatta College and explore the classes there, walk the campus, participate in some of the athletic exercise programs, and just exposing our students to the community, to the junior colleges that are made available to them as an avenue to be able to acquire a four-year university, and maybe even consider middle college when they're in high school at MA. And one last video I'd love to share is just how our visual performing arts is an avenue that really, for some of our shy individuals, it pushes them outside of their comfort zone. And then this also is a way to discover that visual and performing arts is a comfort zone for some of our students. And what's special about the performance here that you'll see is, you may not see in this clip, but the music drama teacher at Los Robles Ron McNair, Christina, because it's a Spanish dual immersion school, not all of the students felt comfortable performing in English. And so for the lower grade levels, the majority of them speak more Spanish than English. And so she accommodated the performance for students to be able to speak in their native language. And what was also very encouraging here is that students who may not necessarily be seen as leaders by their peers were elevated to leaders by their peers after their performance in front of their families and community. So we'd love to play that really quick. So that's it. We are doing a lot of great work here where we're already bringing our learner profile to life. And at our next board meeting in March, maybe late March, I will double check with Joy and decide which board meeting, but we would love to showcase our community action plan that has our 10-year scope and sequence of the goals that we want to be able to achieve and the actions that we're going to be taking to make our learner profile be true for every single student. So thank you.
Moving on to item number 11, consideration to approve resolution number SY 25-12, board member excused absences. Is there a motion to approve item number 11?
I'll make a motion to approve item number 11.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. I'll move on to number 12. The next regular board meeting will be held on March 13, 2025 at 6 p.m. and open session will be at 6:45 p.m. And with that, we'll adjourn the February 27th, 2025 regular board meeting, and we're adjourning at 7:05 p.m.